If you've been anywhere around the Zelda speedrunning community since 2019, you've probably been accustomed to the sentiment that Majora's Mask and Ocarina of Time are broken, incomprehensible messes. And if it was still 2019, you might be right. However, the glitch to blame, SRM, or stale reference manipulation, has changed a lot since its discovery in 2019. And it's changed even more now that the communities have a grasp on what SRM is actually capable of. Today, in 2024, SRM is written off by the general audience, and even by some of the top players in these respective games. You can't look at anything Ocarina of Time or Majora's Mask related without hearing statements such as, SRM has killed the games. However, things have changed, and these long accustomed statements are no longer true. Let's take a deep dive into Zelda's most controversial glitch. You may realize it's a lot cooler than you thought. I have a cat. To start, we have to go back to the beginning with SRM's discovery. Over 17 years ago in 2007, the Ocarina of Time speedrunner Akrite stumbled upon one of the first recorded instances of stale reference manipulation, where they loaded a lever in place of a bomb chew. At the time, this was thought to just be a silly glitch that didn't have any use. 13 years later, an Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask glitch hunter, Glitches and Stuff, discovered that when catching an item on a boomerang and loading another room, it was possible to displace actors. This was the rediscovery of SRM. And this time, people realized it could be capable of so much more. Within the very same month, Glitches and Stuff managed to use SRM to edit the contents of a chest into Dongo's cavern. But how did it even work? In Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask, Link has the ability to pick up and move some objects in the game, whether it's through the use of the boomerang or through picking up an object. In order to sell this illusion, the game simply writes the position and rotation of Link or the boomerang to this object every frame. This illusion, in practice, works pretty well. However, in both of these games, maps are often split into rooms. These rooms hold onto these objects that can be picked up. To explain this better, let's look at a dungeon from Majora's Mask. This dungeon, despite being an interconnected map with no loading screens, is actually split into multiple chunks. When moving through a door, the game secretly transitions from one room to another, unloading the previous room and its objects while loading in the new room. This is a common optimization technique that is used in both of these games, so that these large maps aren't loaded all at once. Now with that being said, what if we could pick up an object while it is unloaded? This is the concept of stale reference manipulation. While attempting to pick up an object while transitioning between rooms, the reference to the object we are picking up becomes stale, making it look like Link is holding air. Do you remember earlier when I said that holding an object is just simply writing positional data to it in order to give the illusion of it being held? This is still occurring even when the object is staled. However, since this object no longer exists, this positional data is written into memory where the object used to be, which is now occupied by something else. This can allow you to pick up different unintended objects, or even edit the properties of another object. To demonstrate this, let's take a look at a practical example. In the Astral Observatory in Majora's Mask, we can go back and forth through the loading plane while doing seemingly arbitrary actions in order to change the order that objects are loaded in memory. Then, by performing another glitch known as a super slide, we can store the pickup action of a pot, allowing us to get a stale reference pointing to the item given by the chest in the sewer section of the observatory. We can then use Link's angle to change the chest contents to correspond to Link's collision angle. If this doesn't make much sense, that's okay. All you need to know is that in practice, this SRM allows us to get whatever item we want from the chest, just by simply changing Link's angle. This same concept of editing actor properties can be used to achieve other interesting effects, such as changing the location Grottos will warp you to, allowing you to wrong warp literally anywhere. This is the least powerful application of SRM. And for the sake of simplicity, we will refer to the editing of actor properties as Level 1 SRM. As you can maybe imagine by this qualifier, there are higher levels of SRM. So let's take a look into Level 2, which we will define as pointer manipulation. This is where things get a bit more difficult to explain, so please bear with me here. In Level 1 SRM, we are editing the properties within the object. However, the space and memory that holds these actors also holds references to code itself, known as a pointer. For example, every object in a game holds a reference to its draw function, a piece of code that makes the object visible on the screen. If we instead target this part of an object, rather than its properties, we can change what piece of code is run when the object is supposed to be drawn on the screen. And I know what you're thinking. That seems pretty powerful. Could we, I don't know, make looking at a bush give us every single item in the game? Yeah. Could we change Link's boots value to give him the ability of flight? Duh. What about allowing Link to warp straight to the credits? Ocarina of Time in 3 minutes. If you have any memory of Ocarina of Time 100% in 2019 and 2020, much of what you were witnessing was the work of this level 2 pointer manipulation. Level 2 SRM can be much more than just changing code pointers, however. Applications such as DPM, ROP, or FPM can be used to accomplish equally as powerful results. While I've left descriptions on these applications on screen, going into details on each one individually is a bit out of scope for this video. All you need to know is that they can be used to accomplish some pretty insane results. Now, level 2 SRM is incredibly broken, there's no doubt about that. But, surely there's nothing even more overpowered, right? Arbitrary code execution is often considered to be the final frontier for video game glitches. In practice, arbitrary code execution, or ACE for short, is the ability to inject code into a game with purely in-game actions. This is level 3 SRM, where we can directly edit the code block, rather than pointing it to somewhere else. In most games, this is primarily used to perform a credit warp. However, there is so much more you can do with ACE. Warp back to back to every single item in the game? Sure. Turn into an actual bird? Of course. Recode the actual game into something else entirely? It's already been done. But where do we draw the line? In any percent, a category that restricts nothing, there's of course not a line to be drawn. But what about 100%? All masks? All dungeons? How do we balance our rule set so that every category doesn't just become glorified computer science homework, designed to speedrun the game for us? This is where the controversy lies. Back in 2019 and 2020, before SRM became the one-stop solution to everything, the solution was pretty simple. Just allow SRM and ban arbitrary code execution. Unfortunately, this solution did not hold up for long. As SRM advanced, the gap between what was possible with SRM and what was possible with ACE shrunk significantly. Level 2 SRM was starting to look a lot more like level 2.8 SRM. I believe this period of time was when SRM lost the general audience, and people began writing it off. SRM became such a complicated glitch with numerous possibilities that it cast multiple speedrun routes into a proverbial routing hell, such as both games' 100% categories, where an optimized route still to this day has never been created for either of the games. SRM truly took over the categories it was used in, as it was the fastest and best solution to a lot of the category's numerous goals. The rule set could not keep up with the continued advancements of stale reference manipulation, and the line once simply drawn here continuously started to blur. However, in 2022, in a vote to restructure the leaderboards, Majora's Mask 100% SRM was changed to Majora's Mask 100% no pointer manipulation, a rule set that banned the previously mentioned higher level SRM applications, which in turn fostered a 100% route that implements SRM in a simpler way to prevent it from dominating the run. Instead of allowing SRM to run free, this rule set only allowed level 1 SRM. This category to this day has a mainstay on the Majora's Mask leaderboards, due to the run incorporating SRM into the route like any other trick, rather than letting it dominate it. This category allows us to perform a couple of wrong warps to skip cutscenes, acquire some items early, and even acquire the Sun Song, a song left over in Majora's Mask's code from Ocarina of Time. This makes the route incredibly unique from the no major glitches variant, as despite them being only around 15 minutes apart, they are incredibly different from each other. This decision to limit SRM was also very recently done as well in Ocarina of Time, where they voted to create restricted SRM categories on the main boards, also limiting the much more powerful versions of SRM. While their line is drawn just a bit higher than ours, this has created a much healthier state of stale reference manipulation on the main leaderboards, without having it develop into the dominating glitch many have grown accustomed to. In my opinion, this was the absolute best way to handle SRM. If we draw the line at ACE already, there's no reason to push the line a little bit further in order to balance the trick. Naturally, these rule changes were not without controversy. Funnily enough though, Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask landed on complete opposite sides of the spectrum. While Ocarina of Time has 2 subcategories allowing SRM for every main leaderboard category, Majora's Mask only has 1 outside of any percent. The reasoning for this, I believe, is fairly simple. Majora's Mask had just come off another hot controversy with debug menu, which ended in a leaderboard-wide ban. This precedent made it much easier to write off other overpowered advancements such as SRM. And to be honest, it's kind of a shame. All mass no pointer manipulation, for example, is a really neat category that was cast out of the leaderboards due to this. Ocarina of Time, on the other hand, went in a complete opposite direction, as they were much more open to allowing SRM. This caused a really interesting paradigm shift within the community, as despite 2/3 of all subcategories allowing SRM, the no SRM variants are almost all more popular. That being said, I do think having options is a good thing, but I think it's starting to come around and bite them. While I do have another video on this subject you can check out, Ocarina of Time is currently experiencing another largely controversial glitch, with Dynapoly wrong warping. And I believe the large number of existing category splits is holding them back from splitting Dynapoly off into its own category as well, fundamentally changing the more beloved no SRM subcategories. Unfortunately, the public opinion on SRM has not had enough time to change, and to be honest, is not really given the fair chance it deserves. With the dominance and popularity of non-SRM categories, it's way too easy to use SRM as a scapegoat and blame it for every problem both of the games have had. SRM categories exist for the same reason glitchless categories do, in order to give people the option on how they want to speedrun the game. If you take anything away from this video, give SRM a chance. It deserves it. If you're interested in checking out some SRM speedruns for yourself, drop a follow over on my Twitch channel, where I'm currently speedrunning Majora's Mask 100% no pointer manipulation. I've also left a link to a handful of creators who specialize in SRM categories for both games I personally enjoy, so be sure to check them out down below. That being said though, thank you for watching. If you're interested in videos and Zelda glitches and speedruns, be sure to click on the video on screen now. Or not, man, I mean it's really up to you.